validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
All right, we gonna try this one more time. My man just said, he said you're muted. I was over here doing some other stuff, and I looked over and he's like, "Son of a bitch, I'm muted every fucking time. I'm always sitting over here trying to get this situation." he said, uh, he said, "I'm concerned that all I never leave the house after dark." Uh, Man, I appreciate you, Pumbaa. Special shout out to Pumbaa. Help me out. I really appreciate that, man. As soon as I came over and checked the comments, I was like, golly, I thought that it had turned the mic on. Okay. Well, welcome to this and that. We're always live. So there's mistakes that happen. But like I said before, while we do not let the sun rise without going live, we don't always start on time. So we ask you guys to like, subscribe, and hit the notification buttons, and then also take a look at what we got going on in the membership. So I try my best to give you guys all the information that you need to be successful and where to go to find all that information that you need to be successful. So didn't miss out on much the first three minutes of me, 2 minutes of me talking to you guys. That's pretty much all I had gotten into it before I looked over and was like, crap, the mic is off. So Jake says he's concerned that he never leaves the house after dark. I don't understand why you never leave the house after dark, Jake. Uh, Here go Michael. He gonna sit here and try to make it seem like it. Well, if it's pre-recorded, Michael, and you just typed it in the comment section, how does that make it pre-recorded? But Jake says that he's concerned that he never leaves the house after dark, and I don't know why you're concerned that you never leave the house after dark. I mean, to be honest, depending on what city and state and what country you live in, the world is a whole lot better when the sun goes down because most people don't go outside after dark probably for the same reason you believe that you shouldn't go outside after dark, because allegedly the riffraff is out at night, right? But truth be told, since so many people stay inside after dark, which is more people that stay inside after dark than the people that stay inside during the daytime, because we are all COVID trained now, social distancing, antisocial behavior, to the magnitude that there's nobody on the road, it's cooler outside. You have more accessibility to most things that you would normally try to do, except for the stuff that's only open to the public from 9 to 5 or whatever, right? So if you were going to a late night Walmart or something like that, you'd be able to go shopping without a problem. If you were in one of those countries with a night market, it'd probably be packed, but all the good stuff happens at night, right? Now, when you start talking about going to the club, when you start talking about, you know, doing things that the young kids do, yeah, you probably don't want to go outside at night because we too old for that shit, right? But fuck, I'm outside every night at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning taking my dog for a walk. So there's always uh, a way for me to make things happen. You know what I mean? So I would just encourage for you to go ahead and try to take a look, try to see what's going on, you know, and kind of pay attention to how society is different at night than what it is in the daytime. But let's take a look at something real quick because before we get started with tonight's show, I've heard that rumors that while no improvements have happened with the blockade of the strait, um, other countries are getting on board with Iran releasing control of the strait. So we're starting to see more support, but it's more defensive support, not offensive support. So as we keep following this along, we'll be able to let you guys know if they start an all because that's going to lead to what we've been predicting is an all out war, a world war over the Strait of Hormuz, as gas prices start to soar. So I want you guys to understand that it's not going to be anytime soon. I originally predicted June or July that it would resolve itself, but there is a strong possibility because they're shipping stuff over land now instead of shipping stuff by sea. They're doing trains and everything. The the fact is that if they can operate without succession, it's going to take longer for the United States to take control of the strait, which means that we may still be in this conflict going into next year, which also is going to be playing homage to the topic that we're going to be talking about next week, this coming Monday, because we're talking about Donald Trump potentially running a third term, and that's what we're going to be talking about on Monday, what that third term looks like. And if we're in one of those state of emergency situations where elections are paused or automatically defaulted, the opportunity for a third term is highly plausible, but there are some circumstances there, and I'm going to be going over all the details of it. And yes, special shout out to Stephen. Uh, you were correct. Roosevelt did do 4 terms. He didn't do 4 full terms because he was elected the fourth time, but he died. So he completed 3 full terms, which is 12 years, and then died on the fourth term. But had he lived, it would have been 16 years. So after he died, because what happened, and we're going to go into this into detail on Monday night show, but what happened is that the majority of presidents voluntarily stepped down after 8 years. But when Roosevelt continued to run, it wasn't a voluntary step down. It had to become mandatory, and that's when he started doing things like the standardized 2 terms. Michael says Fred Meyer store closed near my home in Tacoma due to theft. Life is getting sad. Yes, sir. I could see that happening. I could see them closing things down at night due to the inappropriate behavior patterns of people, but I don't see myself finding it more fearful to be outside at night than what it is to be outside in the day. I think the danger is equivalent, um, depending on where you are, because you have the nightlife with the like. If they're not in your favor, they're not in your favor. That is what it is. You know what I mean? So you just got to kind of deal with that and then work through it. But there's less people outside at night. That's my thought. Now, um, since we cover different topics every night of the week, we already told you all Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays business and politics topics. Where Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. This week we're going to be talking about the third term thing with the presidency and how that's going to impact your ability to get paid. Tuesdays we talk about ways to make money, save money, um, budget money, invest money. And this Tuesday we're talking about cybersecurity for the second part of a two-part series, where we provide a lot of information about how to keep your money safe, changing ways for you to think about your money and your storage of your money and the storage of your identity as it impacts your money. Then on Wednesdays we start talking about different countries around the world that you can invest in, which gives you the ability to look for different places to live. I just talked to somebody today from the Philippines who actually verified all the stuff I covered about the Philippines when I covered the Philippines, which enthusiastic. Um, and then we have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Today being Saturday, where we discuss with you guys about personal development, self improvement, relationship topics, negotiation, socialization, building your brand, and then we talk about promotions, raises, um, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, getting fired off the job, and then how to build your 20 to 30-year plan and why it's so important for you to focus on your tomorrow instead of your today, because immediate gratification is gone in the moment, while long-term satisfaction is more plausible for long-term improved way of life. So building it to get to where we need it to be, that's what we've got to do. And then we have to make adjustments along the way so that we can see that improvement. Now, Puma says sometimes they say it's theft, but just choose to move stores out that aren't performing how they want them to. You're correct. Gentrification, if you have businesses that are not functioning well in a certain neighborhood because they're not making enough sales, they'll make any kind of public display to justify their lack of progress, basically putting the blame on somebody else, which allows for them to then relocate without the shame of we just didn't make money in this particular area, right? So um, then when there's lack of services in a certain neighborhood in a certain city or town or whatever the case may be, then that city, state, town, whatever actually starts having people relocate out of that city or state or town. So they because if there's no resources in the town, then they don't. Not a lot of people want to continue to stay there. So that's also an issue in and of itself. So we just got to figure out, what we need to do to succeed, and then how to get that done, right? Which kind of leads to what we're going to be talking about today. Now, one of the things we also have uh, on Sundays is questions and comments for the fans. So you guys get to look forward to that tomorrow, and we'll be able to go over all of the normal and appropriate questions that people have to ask me for. He said theft and homelessness. Well, homelessness is like what there's a 30% I think of homelessness across the country. I could be wrong. I think it probably lower than that, but I think that overall the total quantity. No, it's not 30%. I think it's like 3 to 5%. 30% is overstating it by far. But there is a decent quantity between 1 and 5% of homeless people in every state, where homelessness is everywhere. Um, and theft is going to be coming from the lack of provisions. You know, um, sometimes it's a lack of motivation to do what it takes to get the money, but sometimes it's just too hard to get the money, and people just steal what they can't afford to get, what they don't have the capabilities to earn. And that's what we have to pay attention to. That's what we have to turn our face towards to make sure that everything is the way it can be, right? So, um, some states pay you better to be homeless than to work. Well, that's because a lot of states pay you the living wage of cost to get you back on your feet. And as long as you're homeless, you get that benefit. And it is something that helps, but it also hurts because it enables people to stay in that certain type of lifestyle instead of them improving to a different lifestyle. So there you can't make the perfect system, but when you're trying to manifest a type of system that reduces, if not completely eliminates homelessness, you first put forth enough effort to have the system self-sustained, where it brings in enough revenue to pay for itself, because we don't always have donors that are going to donate to homelessness. They'll donate to cancer, even though only 3 cents on every dollar donated goes towards the actual research, but they won't always donate to homelessness. Um, But the fact is that when they do something for homeless individuals, the um that's when the homeless people actually can look at this free money and be like, oh, thank, and then maintain that standard. We had that with Section 8 because people that were giving a cheaper standard of living in order to keep them from being on the street. Then they realized, if I make too much money, then I no longer get this free house. Instead of making enough money off of the fact that you're living in a cheaper house and then move yourself into owning your own house, what they would do is they would get paid under the table so that they don't claim enough money to no longer qualify for the program. They would do whatever it takes to stay in the program. They would have extra incomes that come into their household that isn't listed on the program, so that they can maintain the Section 8 housing. And then all the extra money that they're not paying for a standard house is money that Michael said, more money, more fun, more drugs, more irresponsible spending, more because it's not just drugs. Because a lot of people believe that poor people are always on drugs. Poor people are not always on drugs. The financially challenged individuals are financially challenged because they waste their money on shit. Take, like we were just talking about yesterday, the thousands upon thousands of dollars that the poor folks were paying on their kids' prom this year. All the money that they spent on having their children march into the school, everybody wearing an expensive suit, everybody's kid having thousands of dollars of cash in their hand, but they could never pay for lunch at school. All of this stuff that they're doing is the financially irresponsible decisions that rubs off on the kids, because now the kids are going to be financially irresponsible because the kids didn't learn from the parents how to be financially responsible. Now, they recognize, well, if I'm homeless, or not homeless, but if I'm living on Section 8 and I've got a 3 bedroom, and then I put all my kids in one room, and then I've got a room with my partner, and then my brother, sister, auntie, whatever's got a room with her partner. Now we got 4 adults in the house, 5 or 7 kids, 3 bedroom, all these people in this place. Everybody's money is going into this one location. The government doesn't know how many people are actually in this one location. And now all of a sudden, you've got, you know, 25% of the standard of living in this location is all the money that we have to pay on being responsible. And the rest of the money is, partying and living that high life on a budget, and then throwing money at your kids so that your kids can pretend like they're not broke because they have an allowance from their mom, but they're living in a government funded house, and that's why they have luxury cars outside of their government funded house, because the government's funding the house. So it's like, so it's not just drugs, it's just irresponsible decision making. He said, I seen that on another channel about prom. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I've seen so many of them over the past 2 days, 2 or 3 days. I have seen so many, and I am disappointed in each one of them. I can't thumbs down on the content on TikTok where I saw it, but I've seen so many of it, and I'm just like, bro, they are so because they could have paid for the kids' tuition with that money. They could have got them kids their own cars, helped them get their own jobs, invest in their own businesses. They could have used that money to buy houses with. The poor people are always going to be on the clock. Like the seven doors. And that makes me disappointed, and that actually leads us into what we're talking about today in today's show, because I want to give you guys information on how to upgrade your lifestyle without without upgrading the cost of your standard of living. Because if you improve your lifestyle in the right ways, you can feel more fulfilled without having the extra cost, and then you can get more things done without having the extra burden of finance. And I think that if some people started thinking about this, that we would see different behavior patterns. Now, last month we covered the fundamental and foundational principles of style, right? So now we're going to go deeper. This isn't quite a sequel. It's going to be the next level. So it's a master class on the unorthodox tactics and psychological levers that separate the men who just wear clothes from the men who use style to engineer a better life, right? So today we're moving beyond the basics into the mechanics of how upgrading your look fundamentally upgrades your mind, your identity, and your world. So the most profound style changes happen in your mind first. The This is driven by a psychological phenomenon called enclosed cognition. Hold on a second. I have seen this before, y'all. Wait a minute. E- Yes, I'm on the right spot because this seems like some of the stuff I was talking about on a different show because it's a sequel. Okay. Experiments constantly show that what you wear directly changes your confidence, your attention, and your decision making. So when subjects wear sharper, more formal clothes, they literally perform better on cognitive tasks and report feeling more powerful. So your clothes become your behavioral armor. Now, this is going to create an identity bridge. When you dress like the man you are becoming, not the man you used to be, you get to build a bridge between your current and your future self. The external signals that send the world a more important uh, signal that also goes to yourself, which begins to pull your behavior towards the match of your new identity that also blends in with the match of your new attire style. So, real quick, we're going to go into the unorthodox tips, deliberately creating your identity outfits. Quick question, because we actually did cover something similar to this. Is that people view you by how you look? Yeah, you are correct. So, hold on a second, because I'm like, wait a minute. That almost looks like because we were talking about improving our styles. Oh, oh, okay, okay. So hold on, we're gonna grab that. We're gonna keep going on this one, but then we're going to double back to um, the other part of this. There it is. Oh boy, that one. We're gonna dive into this one. We're gonna go part of the way into this one and dive into the other one because we were talking about this before. But I do believe that this part is actually pretty important because I was like, wait, hold on a second. Um, so where was I? Because I just created like 84 scripts for this show so that I could be better prepared for the show. And then I'm like, wait, I think I got. He said, keep going. Back to page three. Was it page three? I'm actually double back to see if we're on page three. Yes. So good job. Actually, page five. Um, uh, we're looking at, oh, page 3. So this is going to create your bridge. So now back to page 4. So he was right. The external signals that you send the world are going to be more important than the ones that you send yourself. So here's going to be the first unorthodox tip. You want to deliberately create identity outfits that you get to wear for specific high level work. And this is going to be your best blazer that's worn on your building your business days, a sharp casual outfit reserved for dates, or a clean minimal look for deep creative work. Over time, your brain is going to forge a powerful association between those clothes and the high performance versions of you that make it easier to step into the mindset on common ground. Now, pivoting, because I did talk about that in length on a different show, and this is supposed to be the follow up of that. So when you start putting in your outfits in the correct fashion, when you start changing the way you think when you wear certain outfits, like for example, if I'm always in a suit and I'm always going to carry myself in a professional fashion, when I get dressed, because I'm not dressing up, when I get dressed, I'm going to have this mindset that I am coming from a boss position. So I'm going to delegate, I'm going to negotiate, I'm going to compromise, and then I'm going to function from the position of a boss, not the position of a worker. So when I'm t-shirt and sweats or something like that, then I might be in the mentality of relax and comfort. When I am full on three-piece suit where I mean business, that might be combat, whatever. All of these mindsets are tied to how you look. But the other part of this that I wanted to talk to everybody about was the rest of your life after you improve your outfit. And for the longest time, a lot of people are going to find themselves stuck in one core belief that a better life is waiting for you on the other side of a bigger paycheck, and that's what I wanted to talk about. The a lot of people might see their dream lifestyle, less stress, more freedom, more fun as a prize that they could only unlock with a promotion or a fat salary bump. So they do what a lot of people do, which is put their heads down and work harder and say yeah to the projects that they can't stand. And while waiting for the magic number in the bank account to finally give you the permission to live the life that you actually wanted, you actually never find yourself in a position where you actually get to that satisfactory lifestyle. Now, even when the number actually does creep up, it is never the amount that is finally received as deliverable, right? The goalpost just keeps moving back a little bit further. A little more income got swallowed up by a little more lifestyle inflation, and you find yourself right back where you started, feeling like you're always waiting for a real life to begin, right? Then one day it's going to pop up into your head. You're going to come to the show, you're going to listen to me, you're going to get this aha moment that you were completely and utterly wrong, that you've been playing the game with the wrong rule books, and the radical upgrades that you were searching for isn't hidden in a future paycheck. It's already available to you right now, buried in the resources that you already have. So if you figure out a way to be more strategic and reallocating three specific things: your time, your attention, and your identity, then you could make your life feel radically richer and more luxurious without earning a single dollar more than what you already earn, which is the concept of today's show. So this is the part that I want you guys to linger in with. Uh, but this isn't about being cheap, though. It's not about cutting coupons. This is going to be about a strategic overhaul of your internal operating system. So in tonight's show, we're going to be walking you through the exact framework that I use to stop waiting and start living, and how I'm going to upgrade and how I've been doing the work to upgrade my entire lifestyle from the inside out. And I want you guys to follow along with this so that you can do it too, right? Now, y'all already see 1080p, a different background, everything to that effect. Y'all see the improvements, y'all see the upgrades. The great deception is why more money isn't the answer before we get into how we have to tackle the whys. And that's what we're going to be doing right now. Why are we all so convinced that more money is the cure all for all of our problems? It's a story that we're sold from every angle, but it's built on a psychological quicksand. First problem is going to be something called the hedonic treadmill. You get that raise that you've been dreaming of for a week, maybe a month. You feel fantastic. You're on top of the world. But then very quickly, that new income becomes your new normal. The thrill wears off, and your brain starts looking for the next thing to give you that hit of happiness. The new car just becomes your car. That bigger apartment just becomes your apartment. Your baseline resets, and you're right back where you started. You just have more expensive bills. The second and maybe trickier issue is going to be that we almost never define what we believe is enough. What do you truly believe enough should look like for you, right? Because when you stop moving the goalposts every time you hit a target, satisfaction finally happens, and it can actually catch up to your expectations. But most of us don't do that. We treat our financial goals like the horizon, an imaginary line that just keeps backing away as we move towards it. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy in the next 6 figures. And then when we get to those 6 figures, we say immediately, well, to be truly secure, I probably need to make 150, 200,000. Women are saying all day long that they prefer a financially stable man to be making $150,000. But I've shown you guys on multiple occasions that two $30,000 a year people can come together and make $1.5 million in 10 to 15 years. And even with catastrophes, 20 to 25 years, they can make it to that $1 million, $1.5 million lifestyle. The average person doesn't because they spend more money than they make. They don't save any of it. They don't invest any of it, but it is possible. And it's not just on paper. Like after taxes, if you're looking at two people with a $40,000 a year income and they're living on $60,000 of it, their combined income is $80,000. If they're living on $60,000 of it, she can still get all her fake hair, fake nails, fake eyelashes, all of that stuff, but live under that actual budget of 60 grand, and the other uh, uh, um 20 grand would be invested into a brokerage account. You'd have 200 grand plus interest. And if you're doing, 10 to 15% interest on an annual basis, you know what I mean? You're looking at upward of 25 grand coming to you on an annual basis, right? Which over the course of 10 years is 250 extra $1,000, which means your baseline 200 grand over the course of 10 years would be upward of 450 grand over the course of 10 to 15 years after taxes. And if you're still getting paid that 10 to 15% back, now you're looking at getting handed back like 40 grand, 40, 45 grand. Now combined, you guys are making 80 grand, but in 10 years, you're walking away with you're getting back 45 grand. Now, if you're doubling down on your brokerage account and doubling down on it by reinvesting that 45 grand a year plus continuing to add that 20 grand a year, another 10 years in, you guys would have been probably dating for 8 and married for 12. You'd have been together for 20 years now. Now you're looking at a million, $1.5 million in the bank, where now you're getting back $100,000 at 10%, $120,000, $150,000 at 15%. Now y'all can quit your jobs and live the lifestyle that you wanted, starting from being broke, starting from two people working at a fast food restaurant and just not being financially wasteful. Right? It can happen. How much do you feel should be two people's income per year? But my feeling and statistical average is going to be two different things. You're supposed to have 30% of your standard of living per person. So it really depends on what city and state that you're living in versus what you believe is your base standard of living. Now, if we're talking about a 2 bedroom apartment or a 2 bedroom house, you would likely find something anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. Standard utilities, phone bill, light bill, gas bill, all this other stuff, car insurance, everything like that. depending on your driver's record. So that's going to be a variable that can't be calculated. You might be adding an extra $300 to $500 to that $1,000 to $1,500 a month, which means that you might be broad spectrum like $2,000 a month, right? Before you start buying groceries, you start buying groceries maybe $500 or $600 a month. You're looking at somewhere around $2,600 a month, probably $3,000 a month. If you say, well, um, and I'm gonna stretch that and say, well, for one person it might be $400 a month, which will put you right around $2,500 a month, right? For one person. Now, the standard calculation is 150% for a second person. So if you're looking at 2,500 a month would be reasonable for certain people. If you were to do 150%, that would be what 1.25 more, 1,250 more, which would be like 37 or 38, so $3,800. So if you're looking at like $3,800, almost $4,000 a month, that's going to be like 48,000 a year. Now, that depends on what city and state you're living in, though, because that might not be possible, right? Because if your baseline apartments in because depending on what you consider a reasonable neighborhood is, my baseline apartment might be 2,500 a month. So if the baseline apartment is 2,500 a month, and I'm quoting a $1,500 a month for an apartment, that would add an extra $12,000 a year to it, which will bring your baseline up from 48,000 to upward of 60,000. The statistical average claims right now that the average comfortable standard of living is between 68 and 72,000 a year. Now, if we go off of the U.S. Census, that about 68 to 72,000 a year is the average comfortable standard of living across the United States. Two $40,000 a year income, because you said two people, two $40,000 a year incomes can live on that and still have $8,000 between 12 and $8,000 of money every year. When we start looking at how a lot of states are doing $15 an hour as base minimum wage, and a lot of places are starting to pay $20 an hour to overshadow minimum wage, we're looking at what $20 an hour, like 40 hours a week is like $800 plus overtime. If they go into overtime, but just basic 40 is like what $800 a week, which is a little under $1,000 a week, which is a little under $4,000 a month per person. So if we were to round it up with overtime at $4,000 a month per person, you're looking at $8,000 for the couple per month coming in as an income, which is about 96,000 a year for average $20 an hour hourly wage workers. 92,000 a year. The U.S. Census dictated that blue collar workers, the working class, were right at the $79,000 a year mark, where they're $1,765 a week paycheck kind of thing. So, but that's for one person as working class. But for a family, 92,000 a year for two people that are each making about $20 an hour, doing something, whatever it is, come living in the same house where comfortable standard of living is $68,000, 68 to $72,000. Let's say $72,000. We want to throw in that inflation because of the wartime. You're still from 72 to 96. You're still $24,000 difference between reasonable standard of living and the expected pay of two people that are both making $20 an hour. And if you took some money off the top for taxes, you might have to take like $5,000 or $10,000 off the top for taxes for the both of them. So that might bring it down from 98,000 to like 86,000, but that still puts you right around $15,000 to $20,000 more than your standard of living. The logic still boils down to this: if you're not wasteful, your discretionary spending would likely be about $20,000 more than what your standard of living is required. Your basic standard of living is required, which ultimately means that you should be able to take that other $15,000 to $20,000 a year and invest it in turning a profit. And if more broke people did that, if you lived on Section 8 and you didn't have to pay for anything and they're not watching your brokerage account, you can live on Section 8 for 10 years and then take your money and put it into a brokerage account and build up the money and then turn around and, you can fuck around and get you a LLC and put the money into the LLC and have the LLC invest into a brokerage account so that the business is getting the money, not you. And then when the LLC is turning over enough capital to buy you a house, buy the house. It's a house for the business, and you rent the house from the business. But you can go from being broke to not being broke, just combing over all the financial stats, right? He said, "Here's how I would handle becoming wealthy today if I was 18 or just out of high school. Okay, and married with no kids. Yeah. Both will get their CDL license, drive for 2 years, saving most of the money, and then drop all that money on a house, live in it for 6 months, then rent it out, and putting the extra money into stocks and land. Okay, now how I would do it a little bit different. And the reason why I would do it a little bit different is because CDL licenses are limited. You still got to get paid for your presence. You still got to get paid in a economic environment where they are replacing the drivers with AI, like self-driving vehicles. You're not loading and unloading a truck, you're just driving a truck from point A to point B. The more companies that switch over to automatic drivers, the more CDL drivers that don't have a job. You are limited to the industrial revolution where, like, if there isn't products being shipped because China's not bringing that into America, you don't got a product to drive, right? Yes, truck drivers always have something to do. They just have less than before. So what I would change about that, if you have a CDL and one of y'all is a truck driver, that's fine. What I would do though, if I was going to do something, instead of me driving trucks for 2 years, I would probably turn that into a business where other people are driving trucks for me so that I don't have to drive trucks. What everything that I would do, I would automate it to where I don't have to do it anymore, but I still get paid for it, right? Which gives me more free time to go do something else, right? Now, you do have a fantastic logic there to make a bunch of money that you don't need because if you're a trucker, you can live out of a truck. You don't have to always get the hotels. You can live out of the truck, drive from point A to point B. But if each of you are individually driving trucks, y'all could probably make a little bit more money than what you would if you're driving together. But if you drive together, you guys can get the truck from point A to point B a little bit faster. Y'all are going to get paid by the hour. Y'all can pool y'all money together. And since you're short hotels and gas and everything like that, you could take the extra money and put it into a brokerage account. I would put it in a brokerage account first, build a brokerage account up first, and then take the profits from the brokerage account, go buy the house. That would be the only thing I would do different. Um, in your well, not just that. I would always try to find a way to automate shit because I don't want to work for somebody else. Um, if you were driving trucks for 2 years and you was able to get it set up where you had two, three, four trucks, where instead of you driving trucks on a regular basis, you start getting contracts to have trucks driven, and you transition to working for yourself and hiring other people to work for you, where you subcontract and say, "Hey, I've got the trucks. Y'all got the product. Y'all got the trailer. Y'all need the shit moved. Talk to me. I got 30 trucks. We'll move all your shit for you." They've got the whole operation. That kind of puts a little bit more money in your pocket. Um, and that helps you figure out um, how to automate the system without you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to start selling wheels to the right people. They need drivers, they need trucks. If you're buying the trucks and you're getting the drivers and you're making this work, for each person that drives your truck, you get a percentage of their profits off of driving a truck because they're using your truck. So you could just rent your trucks out. This is a whole nother thing. This is a whole nother thing. But just listening to your CDL thing, I don't even have to go anywhere else. I can just stay on your CDL topic. and use my CDL to buy 2 or 3 trucks. And then instead of like starting up a massive like trucker company, I could just start up a massive rig leasing company. All of the truck drivers that come out of CDL school do not have the money to buy a rig, but they have no problem with leasing a rig from somebody who's got a rig. So you start buying rigs, use lease those rigs under a contract where they can they fix the rig, they pay for the insurance and everything like that, and the gas and everything on the rig. But while the rig is in their possession, like a rental car, they're going to pay you X number of cents per mile on the rig, or the X number of dollars per day for unlimited usage of the rig. The same way you do with a rental car. Now you want my rig, you might have to give me like $5,000 because this is commercial property. You might have to give me $5,000 a month to use my rig. That person might be making $15,000 a month or $20,000 a month to drive rigs. They're making less money, but they own their own fucking truck, or they're leasing their own fucking truck. You getting $5,000 per truck to lease those trucks out, and then they're gonna fix them, insure them, and everything to that effect. Just like a rental car, just like a lease car. Set it up. How many automatic trucks are there now? There are enough companies that have automatic trucks for there to be a problem that you need to recognize. However, many ways to become wealthy. You are right. There are many ways to become wealthy. So it's not the only way out. There we go. Look, I got down to the comment. I'm brainstorming it, and I got right to where he's at. Lease the trucks, leasing out the trucks, no overhead. Yes. So each truck that you buy, you lease it out to somebody else. You don't got to do nothing. You don't got to drive nothing or nothing. They just pay you while they got the truck, and then you can make money, and you don't got to do nothing. If you got the hot seat, you'll get hired. Average cost for use Volvo's $58,000. Average weekly cost is $500 per week. All right, see, we're starting up a business to lease. There you go. So we're on the right track. We're both on the we have the same mentality. Lease that son bitch, and now you do that for 2 years, maybe 4 years. Establish enough rigs on the road where if you're getting paid like $500 a week for each rig, you are getting, let's say you get 10 rigs, and you say you're getting each rig for 58,000. So let's say you get 20 rigs. That is well, nah, 10 rigs. Let's do 10 rigs, because at 58,000 for 10 rigs, that'll be $580,000 worth of merchandise. You're leasing them out at $500 a week. That's $2,000 a week. You've got 10 rigs out there at $2,000 a month. That's going to be $20,000 worth of money coming back to you for the 10 rigs that are being rented out. That is a phenomenal platform, because if you're making $20,000 a month off of leasing out rigs, you have nothing, no warehouse to store them in or nothing to that effect. They're going to keep using those trucks forever, right? And they don't have to do nothing but just keep paying you the money to have them. And then a special shout out to IP8. What's up, people? Happy Saturday. Then because over the course of 12 months at $20,000 for 10 rigs, you're turning over like $240,000 a year. You paid $500,000 to get these rigs over the course of 5 years, but you're able to lease these rigs out and make you a decent quantity of money on these rigs, and you be able to set it up to where now, after the cost is worked out, because you're probably going to buy 1 or 2 extra rigs to change out when one of the engines are blown and the vehicle is no longer usable, so that you can keep renting rigs to other people. But you're going to ultimately, out of $250,000 just renting out vehicles, you get reimbursed, full reimbursement in 2 to 3 years of establishing that type of platform. And now you're getting $250,000 a year on trucks. Now, think about the logic here. You can buy land just for the sake of buying land, but you can also buy land to turn into a rig dealership where you're leasing and potentially selling commercial rigs. Build you a dealership about that, right? Everybody with a CDL license can come and buy their own rig. So anybody who's been leasing a rig from you can come and buy their own rig eventually from you. So yeah, different ways to get to four. Ran out of fingers to count. Plus a maintenance account to set up with the drivers. There you go. So that's a second profit where if you are going to repair the vehicles at cost, you would have to lease that fee for maintenance, and that'll help you out too. But basically you're not doing the work anymore though, because everybody who goes and gets a CDL has a license without a truck. Eventually they get the trucks. But when they first get out of driving school, they get out of driving school without the truck. So if you have the truck, and this is one of the reasons why it's important, because a lot of people who get a CDL get paid less to use the company truck, drive for the company, get paid by the hour per mile minus the cost of the truck. And they make them a decent quantity of money, but they would have made a little bit more money if they would have had their own truck. So if you factor that in, they're going to make money, they're going to have their own truck, you can lease to buy, there's all kind of ways you can do this, but the fact is that you set yourself up to remove yourself from the situation. You and your wife do it for 3 years, buy 2 3 trucks, put those trucks out there for lease. Now one of y'all is setting up the contracts to lease the trucks, the other one's going out to pick up the trucks. 5 years in, you've got a fleet of trucks. Now you're getting money. Y'all can quit. Y'all can start investing. You should have been investing in your brokerage account the whole time. But if you weren't, now you can start investing in your brokerage account. But I would have been investing in the brokerage account the whole time. Because if you started off as a driver, first 2 years, figuring things out, networking with people and everything to that effect, and you're making, 100, 200,000 a year between the two of y'all, and you took like 40,000 a year and put it in the brokerage account and did whatever you were going to do with the rest of the money, or took 60% of your money and put it into the brokerage account, and then took the rest of it to pay for the hotels and gas and stuff to that effect, you would be in a situation where your brokerage account would be generating enough revenue to help you buy those extra trucks. So when you start buying those extra trucks through the brokerage, you have more trucks, the principal's still there. And then once you automate this system, it's turning a profit next to your brokerage account. Now you got 2 paychecks. All of this leads us to a position where you can make yourselves financially successful in a way where you don't have to work. You got steady income coming in. You can start hiring people to manage this for you, where you're going to make a little bit less than what you would have if you did everything yourself, but now you don't have to do nothing. You just get, you just keep getting money. Because then the driver becomes the owner of the property, the owner and operator. Exactly. Which, if you're making small business owners, there's a profit in that for them and for you. Humor. What do you call a hooker with a mattress on her back? Owner and operator. Yeah, but they typically lease the mattress from somebody else. uh, I wouldn't even know what to call that, because if one hooker leases a mattress to the other hooker because she's retired, she's a retired OnlyFans girl. Right? But that's one of the reasons why I keep telling y'all that there's always a way to make that money. The endless chase to get more, get more, get more is going to be very exhausting, and it's going to keep us in a constant state of feeling like we're lacking, no matter how much money we earn. The real deception is believing that wealth is just a number. It's not a number. Research shows that the feeling of being wealthy is mostly psychological. It's about having security, yes, but it's more about having the flexibility to make choices based on your values, not just on what you can or cannot afford. It's about having control over your time. For most of us, Real financial freedom isn't a Lamborghini, it's having more time. One of the things that we say, no matter how much money we got, is I don't have enough time to do whatever, right? That subcontracted work, that's what it is. Mattress Plus should be making so much extra money if they just redirected their model to a different kind of model. Call it off. OnlyFans forever. All right. Now the good news is though, you can start creating this feeling of control and richness right now. Okay, it's just requiring a shift from chasing more to optimizing what you already have. And it starts not by changing your income, but by changing your focus. Okay. So I know we're supposed to be talking about upgrading your lifestyle without extra income. So talking about money might seem weird, but this isn't about earning more money. It is about using the money that you already have with precision of a surgeon. Most of us are just letting our income hemorrhage out on things that don't actually make us happy. We don't even realize it though. The goal here is to turn your spending from a mindless habit into a powerful tool for building a better life. Now, the first step is what I'm going to call radical honesty audits. And we've talked about this quite a few times over the last like 9 months. This is a non-negotiable because you need to print out your last 30 to 60 days of bank statements, credit cards, and everything like that. And don't just glance at the screen. You want to get a physical copy and a highlighter, and you want to go through it line by line and highlight every single purchase that you've either regretted or flat out don't remember making. And this is different from when I told you guys about doing this audit before. Because when I told you about doing this audit before, I told you about highlighting the necessities that you wanted to keep in order to restructure your budget. This time, I'm telling you guys, go through your bills and look at the stuff that you bought, and you're like, man, I ain't need to buy that. That's a regret. Or, man, I didn't even remember paying for that. You wanna pay attention to that. That third coffee of the day, the subscription on an app that you haven't opened in months, the impulse buy from a targeted ad at 11 o'clock in the morning. Be brutally honest. Um, some people are going to be horrified when they do this. The amount that you find that you are spending on food delivery isn't just a small leak. It's a fire hose of cash that's leaving your account for meals that you don't even really enjoy a lot of the times. The highlighted price of paper is going to be your map. So this is going to show you exactly where your money is going without your permission. Once you have that map, you move to step two. You shift from cutting to curating. Now you got to be honest about this. The word budget is going to be awful. It's going to feel like a diet, a life of restrictions, and saying no. But we're not doing that. Instead, we're going to schedule our joy, which we didn't talk about before. We're going to be looking at your non highlighted expenses, the things that you spent money on that you genuinely loved. And for me and a lot of other people, you might find yourself with weekly yoga classes or a nice dinner out, or maybe hanging out with a partner every Friday or something to that effect, a couple beers with a buddy, something like that. He said, I ran into two guys broke at a truck stop asking for money, but I did something different. I went in and bought a bottle of Windex and towels, told them to ask the drivers if they could wash their windows. To make the story short, they bought me dinner. You don't give them a handout, you sell them an opportunity. Fantastic move, Michael. Special shout out. Now, instead of seeing what's left over after bills are all paid, you're going to give your money a job at the start of the month. You want to black out the funds for specific things that you value, like a yoga class or some simple dinners out for the book that you wanted to buy. And you're going to proactively start sending money towards the things genuinely upgrading your life, right? This flips your financial mindset from scarcity to abundance. You're not plunging into plugging a leak, you're building a fountain. Because if you're a kind of person that likes to read books, and then you say, I'm going to put a little bit of money aside every month so that I can go to Books a Million and buy books. You may not buy a book every month, but when you do go to buy a book, you've got plenty of money there to buy a book. You might not go every month to buy a book. You might only go once in a while and buy a few books at one time. He says, I want a ribbon. Well, if you want to buy ribbons, Michael, you can put money aside to buy a ribbon. You put money aside to buy a ribbon, and you might not go get the ribbon this month. You might not go get the ribbon for another 2 months. But when you do go to get the ribbon, you'll have plenty of money to get as many ribbons as you can carry. The third step is, and this is going to benefit you a lot. Remember, I told you guys before about getting multiple bank accounts for multiple reasons. If you have a different bank account for each situation that you're about to budget here, right? You're going to find yourself in a position where uh, you can actually wire transfer money for specific things to specific bank accounts, and then those bank accounts can hold that money until the money gets relocated to the actual spending. People don't think about that, but that's why I told you. It's like if you had one bank account in every, if you had two bank accounts, one bank, one credit union in every state in the country, you would have 50, you would have 100. But if you get at least one in each one of the 48 accessible states, you should have at least 100, if not more. Two books, $2 for hardbacks, $1 for softback, or books, $2 for hardback, $1 for softbacks. Yeah, you could do that. Which means that if you were going to buy one hardback and one softback a month, you want to put away $3 a month for books. Now, if you put away $3 a buck for $3 per month for books, you might not go to the bookstore every month, but when you do go to the bookstore, you might see $75 in there for books, and you might see a book for $40. You might see a series for $60, right? Then you can go and buy more than one book at one time. So one of the things you have to figure out is that your willpower is going to be a limited resource. So you don't want to waste it on remembering to pay your electric bill. So you want to set up automatic payments for all of your reoccurring expenses. One of the things that I do instead of setting up reoccurring expenses, automatic bill pay, what I do is I would advance pay for regular reoccurring bills for extended periods of time. This doesn't work for your car note or your mortgage because since you owe so much money, if you overpay, they just take more off of the principal and you still got to owe the same amount next month. But your phone bill, your water bill, your light bill, your car insurance, things that have a fixed amount every month. And if you pay more than that, they owe you service. If I pay $100 a month on my light bill, I'll give them $300 and I've got to go look at it for another 2 months. That allows you, and opportunity cost is that if you've got $300 sitting in their pocket instead of $300 sitting in your brokerage account, you're missing out on the opportunity cost of getting 10% over the course of the 2 months that it's over there with them, but you get the peace of mind that your bills are paid up for the next season. And that peace of mind that you're buying by putting the money in their hands so that they can take it whenever they want it versus leaving it in your account to generate revenue where you have to remember to send it to them is golden, right? And when all of your bills are paid and you're sitting over here like, fuck, the worst thing that I got to deal with today is fucking $18 light bill for the next 30 days. That's that's a better feeling to have, right? Because if you're paying $40 for books, I'm taking your credit card away. Well, it depends on how many books you have, and then it also depends on how often you buy books. Because take for example, I mean, yeah, law books are going to be a little bit different, but take for example of somebody who likes to read novels. They're not going to just have one novel. They might have 150 novels at their house. They may have bought that 150 novels over the past 15 years, where they may have bought 15 novels a year, which is a little over one novel a month. But they don't have to buy all of the novels like going to the place once a month and buying a book. They could, in fact, go whenever the new release comes out and buy the set and not buy any more books for a while, right? Buy a 5 book set. Chris Arquette and his bodaciously awesome book. He's got a set. I haven't talked about his book for a while. His book is should have another release coming out soon. Um, with that upcoming release, you look at like once every several months, he's releasing a book. If you want his entire collection, you can, yeah, like the Darnell Steele series, you can buy even the Dirty Manga books. You can buy the whole collection, and that might be the only books that you buy this year. That might be the only books you buy for 2 years. But if you're putting away, like I said, I'm not saying put away $40 a month per book. You said $2 for a hardback, $1 for a softback, and I said that you might only go once a year, and when you did go, you might spend $40 at one time. So $40 would be probably $3 a month that you put aside for books for like 12 months, and now you got like $40 or $45 worth of money to go buy books, and now you're going to go buy $40 worth of books. That's what I'm talking about. So, because you're not going to go to the bookstore and go buy books every month. You don't have that kind of time. But if you're putting the money aside to go buy those books, once you do decide to go buy those books, there's no limit to how much. Well, there is a limit, but there's no reasonable limit based on how much you can carry to go and get the books that you want instead of buying a cheaper book because that's all you can afford. That makes a lot of sense. But by setting up automatic payments or paying in advance for regular reoccurring life utility bills or whatever, this is going to do two things. It's going to save you from uh, a dumb late fee where you forgot you got your dates mixed up, and it also makes the money invisible because since it's no longer accessible to you, you're not going to be tempted to spend it, right? I read a lot of books. Right. So that now you see what I'm talking about though. But if you read a lot of books and you're talking about $2 for a hard copy, $1 for a soft copy, I showed you guys the book about dividends, how to secure a retirement on dividends using 8% return on investment. That book uh from Tom Jacobs. Uh that book is like 14.99 for a digital copy on Amazon. But that's just one book, 14.99, right? But all comes from sales. Yes, sir. And that's what we're trying to get to. So the next step, you want to go a little bit further. You want to create a specific savings account, high interest savings account, and you want to name them after whatever goals that you want to have. So each time you're opening a savings account, you want to label it for whatever you're trying to do. Instead of the boring savings account, call one a summer trip to Italy or down payment on peace of mind. Give them unique nicknames. This gives you a powerful psychological boost. And irony, sometimes when you name certain accounts, that nickname shows up on your bank statements. Right? But it helps. That book came from sales, costed. No dollar. $2. Good job. Yeah, $2. Good job. Now, every time that you guys move money over to your other accounts, you're not just saving the money, you are casting a vote for a future that you actually feel excited about. Then remember, someone else has already bought it. So you need to buy into it too. Finally, and this might be the most powerful trick in the book, is you want to adopt the use the good stuff philosophy. How many of us special occasion things that just are collecting dust? The nice candles that you're saving, the fancy dishes for guests who never come over, the expensive blanket that you don't want to ruin. Stop that. Stop it today. The light, the beautiful candles that you got for a special occasion, light that bitch. Light it while you're reading on a Tuesday night. Eat your cereal from the good dishes, right? Use the nice blanket while you're watching a movie. When you use these items daily, you squeeze every drop of joy out of the things that you already own. This simple shift instantly makes your current life feel more luxurious because you got all this nice stuff to impress other people. You should be using all the nice stuff to impress yourself. And you're going to do it without spending an extra cent. Stop living for the someday. Get you a big ass dining room table for when you have company coming over, but you don't ever invite people over to your house. That makes no sense. You want to start making your ordinary days feel special every day. A little something extra for yourself every day. Now, if your money is the hardware of your life, your attention is going to be the software. So you can have the best computer in the world, but if the software is buggy and cluttered, it is going to run like garbage. So in the 21st century, our attention is going to be the most valuable resource there is, and everyone is fighting for it. Every app, every notification, and ad is designed to hijack your attention. So, upgrading your lifestyle means that you have to consciously and aggressively take back your focus. This is going to be about installing a few mental updates that let you point your attention where it really matters. Michael says, once that book left the lot, it devalued by 90%. In poor man's terms, it saved me 90% of my dollars. Well, books don't have the same devaluation as cars. They have the capabilities of retaining their value as long as you don't damage them. They do not increase in value though, but their depreciation, they ultimately, if you buy a book, especially if you buy a book that's hard to come by, the longer that book is still being sold at the same prices that you bought it, you could save $90 on the or 90% on the book by selling it for 10% less than what you bought it for. So if you bought a book for 20 bucks, you've read it, you've enjoyed it, you're tired of it, you put it up on eBay for like $18 plus shipping, and they can buy it from you used cheaper than them buying it from someone else, where they're going to be charged $20 plus shipping, which is $25. You might charge them $18 plus shipping, where you might find a cheaper way to ship it and actually only have them paying like $22. You got back the money for the book because you're not reading it anymore. You also don't have a collection of books doing this. But you're right, you do save you a little bit of money. Now, the first update that we're going to change is going to be a small and simple language shift. You want to go from saying I can't afford it to asking yourself, how can I afford it? I can't afford it is a full stop on every opportunity. It's a door slamming shut. It kills all creative thinking and leaves you feeling stuck. The question, how can I afford it, on the other hand, is a starting gun. It forces your brain to start solving problems. It opens up possibilities. Maybe you can't afford that $1,000 course right now, but how could you if you wanted to take that course? You could trade a skill for it, find a cheaper alternative, learn the material for free through library books and YouTube channels. This is one question that reframes scarcity from a dead end into a creative challenge. People with average incomes who live amazing lives are masters of this question. How do I get that without having to pay that price? A lot of broke people, rich minded behavior will go and buy an old 90s model or early 2000s model Rolls Royce so that they still have a Rolls Royce, but they're not buying it for $250,000. They might be buying it for 30,000. It's still a Rolls Royce. What would a book cost if signed by a Medal of Honor winner from WW2 with his picture wearing the medal? Well, that's a question for a collector. Um, the value of the person is contingent to the value of the book. The value of the person is going to be based off of how much the buyer values the person. Now, a die-hard red, white, and blue American that values all veterans equally, no matter how much or how little time you served in the war. If you have a veteran background and you want to pay tribute to or pay homage to in some way, shape, or form veterans, right? If you see a book written by, authored by a veteran, and you want to read their story, and that the author of the book signs the book, you are likely to be willing to pay more money because of your connection to the author being an honorary WW2 medal recipient. The same way somebody who's fascinated about Olympic gold medalist would um, buy something autographed by an Olympic gold medalist. The same way um, wrestlers sign stuff, athletes sign stuff, music artists sign stuff. People's signature can go for a high price if the society values it. Military history books sell, especially if signed. Right. But you're asking me how much. And the only thing I don't have that I don't have that knowledge on hand because I don't invest in military books. But if you have a military history book, it so let's start off with it's gonna be based off of the value of the medal that he got, right? So if he's got a Purple Heart, if he's got some other Medal of Valor to go along with it, then in that scenario, because he is a war hero, him signing the book might have more value to it than a regular staff sergeant or something like that, right? Even if both guys are retired. However, how much would somebody be willing to pay for it depends on their affiliations with or their passion for military textbooks. Yeah, like Michael Jordan. What do you collect? I collect free time. That's what I collect. To be fair, I collect free time. And it's what's your passion? To have as much free time as I can hold. I know it sounds broad spectrum, but if I had a goal, I would tell you that I'm building a legacy of the success of the people around me, right? So the more people that learn from me, that grows and benefits from that, the larger my legacy is. So if you wanted to call a passion something, that would be the passion. Um, but when you start talking about outside of what I do for this podcast, what do I hold the most valuable? My time. My sleep, my ability to rest and relax and not have things that I need to do, right? Do I collect physical objects? No. I have learned that there's no monetary value in items that I can't turn a profit off of. So I'm not wasting my money on things. Or you're not getting free time here. Actually, I'm getting a lot of free time here. Because I mean, I could be sitting here playing video games right now. I could be doom scrolling like everybody else is doing right now. But I'm actually here teaching people some things, and then I'm going to segue into teaching some other people some other things, and then I'm off for the rest of the night. This podcast leads me in a direction of things that I look forward to having in the future, and that actually is one of the better parts about doing the things that I do the way that I do them. So the next upgrade that you guys are going to have to pay attention to is you want to have to switch from a consumer mindset to an owner slash creator mindset, which that's where we are here. Is that this podcast is me being an owner slash creator mindset, not just me buying good ideas from other people or investing in a membership for somebody else so that I can get good ideas from somebody else. I actually find and create the good ideas and then I offset them off to everybody else. Sure, you can call it a passion if that helps. If it helps. I mean, you can technically classify anything that somebody is dedicated to as a passion. Um, I would personally identify it as financial investment and work done because it allows me to build a financial legacy in addition to actually building a reputational legacy. It's some of the stepping stones that I need to get to where I want to be at in the future that I decided to build for myself. So let's go ahead and decipher the difference between a consumer mindset versus a creator or owner mindset. A consumer is going to think about what they can get, like the next paycheck, the next purchase. An owner is going to think about what they can build, assets, systems, and values. Take, for example, when you use the example of the CDL license. You can get money from the CDL license by driving trucks for several years. So you drive trucks for several years. Then you take that money and you can get a house. So you'll go and buy one so that you guys have a place to live. Then you'll take the money left over and you will go and get a retirement capital, right? Brokerage accounts, stuff like that. Notice I came from the owner mindset. It's like, well, instead of, you know, waiting until the end, invest on the way, take the profits from the investment, start buying extra trucks, lease them out to somebody else. Now you're getting paid for other people using a truck. You don't have to do the work. You still got the brokerage account. You still got money coming in. You still got free time. You can still go and buy that house. But now you've got two sources of income: all the trucks that you leased out versus all the money in the brokerage account. I took your plan and created a system and built something off of the plan that you came up with. That's the difference between uh, uh, owners and consumers. Building assets, building systems, and building value. You don't have to start a business to do this all the time. You can start right where you are at whatever job you're doing right now. You start documenting your skills, creating checklists, get you a template for tasks that you do all the time. You're not just doing work, you're building a system that makes the work easier and more valuable. See your time not as something to spend, but as capital to invest. Are you spending your evenings just consuming content, or are you investing some of that time creating something, learn a new skill, building a small project? This identity shift is going to be key, which leads us into the next idea: status detox. Society has tricked us into thinking that status comes from things that we can show off: the car, the designer clothes, the big house. It's a game you can't win because the finish line is always going to be moving. The real upgrade is just to opt out of that game altogether. Decide that your status won't come from flashy things, but from invisible advantages, like having free time in your schedule, keeping your stress low, getting 8 hours of sleep, feeling a deep sense of control over your own life. When you make this mental switch, something magical is going to happen because you can drive a 10-year-old car, not feel like a failure because your new measure of success is the freedom of having no car payments. Like we were talking about the other day, one car had to get towed. My homeboy tried to now this is the same homeboy, Michael, that I had to help him get his taxes done. The same homeboy I had to cover his phone bill. The same homeboy I had to cover his Netflix account. The same homeboy I have to give him financial advice on a regular basis so that he stops allowing his mom to spend up all of his money. Now I told my homeboy, I said, yeah, well, one of the cars that broke, I had to get it towed back to the house. I towed it for free, right? Towed it for free, got a free ride back to the house. And then all I got to do is just swap plates because remember when the Cadillac broke this time last year, I parked it and switched plates to a different vehicle, right? Well, guess what? The vehicle I switched to broke a couple days ago, so I parked it and switched the plates back to the Cadillac because I fixed the Cadillac earlier this year. Now, since my homeboy knew that the car had broke, he throws me sarcasm when I told him that some of the paperwork that he was supposed to be sending to me had came in, so I can go ahead and do what I was going to do out here with the business I was running. And then he tells me, "Oh, well, good thing. Now all you got to do is get you a functioning car." I never have to walk. There is no bus system where I'm at, and I never have to walk. All right, bro. All I had to do is just swap place to the other car. I fixed the other car 3 months ago before anything happened. I switched to the other. I fixed the other car 3 months ago, and then I just parked it and left it alone because why pay insurance for two cars when I'm only driving one? So when the one that was on the insurance broke, I can just switch it over to the one that is not on the insurance, and everything will be copacetic, right? That's all I had to do. Y'all remember to like and subscribe. Howard Hughes drove an old truck. Did homie give you a lift? Homie, me and the homie not in the same place at the same time. He's a few thousand miles away from where I am. So he would not have been able to give me a lift. He did do what I needed him to do so that I could make sure that I had access to some of the resources in the business. So he did serve his purpose, but had I needed a lift, yes, he would have gave it to me. I'm coming from the perspective of he thought it was cute to mock the fact that I notified him that one of my cars broke down. And I mean, when his cars break, I'm like, oh, well, so your car's in the shop again. Cool. Because sometimes it's in there for regular maintenance, but sometimes it's just in there. He was using it for like an Uber vehicle for a long period of time. So it's gonna go into the shop a lot. And now his mom's driving it on a regular basis, so it's gonna go into a shop a lot. Uh does he have a VVA? He's got his own vehicle. I got it for him. Of course he's got his own vehicle. He's got a 2019 fast son of a bitch. I got it for him. He wouldn't be driving a vehicle that he's driving today had it not been for me. Not only did I get it for him, I drove him out there to go get it, and then we raced back with it to make sure that that son of a bitch worked. So everything he got was because of me, not the other way around. He does do some things of value for me, but look, I'm just gonna be real with you. Like the vehicle he had before the vehicle that he's got now, I co-signed on the first one. So he paid off the first one, traded it in for the second one. You know what I mean? It, I'm like his dad, to be real. Yeah, he wasn't the only person either. There was two other guys that was working with me. One of them actually got a $40,000 Dodge Ram from me. Yeah, before I started this podcast, and then I realized I'm like, man, that was a dumb move. But yeah, The guy, the guy that got a car right now, that I got him a car right now, that guy actually still does work for me. So I'm getting my value out of him. But had I knew then what I know now, would I have made different financial choices? Of course I would have. Which is one of the reasons why I know that the average American does the exact same stuff that I used to do, and that's one of the reasons why they're always hard up. Because whenever you got a little extra, you're willing to do a little extra for those that you hold loyalty to. And sometimes they reciprocate and hold loyalty to you and go out of their way for you as well. You build a relationship out of sacrifice, right? It's a relationship out of convenience, but it's also a relationship that's compounded out of sacrifice. You give up what you have to somebody you need to make sure that they got what they need, and in turn, they reciprocate by giving up what they have whenever you need, so that you have what you need. But it's a relationship that's a relationship of convenience that's built on sacrifice. Now, um, the point of that matter was more so to the magnitude, Michael, that uh, uh, since I majority of the time always got a backup plan, is that since I had a second vehicle, I went while the first vehicle was running good, I went and fixed the second vehicle and used the second vehicle as a backup. When the first vehicle broke down, I didn't see anything. I just told the dude, I'm like, yeah, so I got a tow, and I was trying to figure out a way to tow and get the ride back, but then I ended up getting the tow and the ride through the insurance. So he realized that I had a broke down car, and that he thought it was funny to mock the fact that I had a broke down car. And that's when I taught him, like, hey, I always got my shit in order. Where one car stopped moving, another one was ready to go. All I had to do was just get everything switched over, and I got everything switched over today, and I'm able to just hightail it on out of there. He said an old person can tell you not to, but they will do it anyway. Oh, of course, which is one of the things why a lot of the times I find myself in a debate with some of the older men because they're from the old school. They don't want to listen. They don't want to learn. Some of them actually are willing to learn. But I noticed from him, he hard headed. When I tell him certain things on how to improve himself, he doesn't listen. It's in one ear out the other, and that's one of the reasons why he's still struggling. I call him out on it on a regular basis, one on one, and that's why I don't put his name out here on the podcast. But so if he watches the show, he's like, yeah, he's talking about it again. Like, bro, I'm going to talk about this shit because if you've got somebody telling you how to make things better for yourself and you don't want to apply that, I mean, you're always going to be okay with the life that you have because you can't do better without change. But if you know that you could do better if you change, why won't you change? It's not always going to be like this. Is a mentality that people put on faith, and faith is built on a religious practice of leaving it to a higher power that they never see, that they can never talk to, with the assumption that a miracle is going to happen where no variables are going to change, but a new outcome will occur. And that is not how it's going to happen. In order for change to occur, you have to start changing things. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you operate. You have to change the way you engage people. You got to change the way you allow your money to operate in order to see new things. So when I give him the advice and I tell him about, hey, do this and do that and do the other, he doesn't listen. And then when he sees that it worked for me, then I'm like, now you see what I'm talking about. I had a family member where I was telling my family member about how to make things change and then improve and then go into home ownership. She didn't want to listen. Then she overheard that I was making moves in real estate. Now she's like, oh, can you get me one? No, I'm not getting you shit. Had you listened to me, you would have been in the position to receive. But since you're not listening to me, I'm not going to carry you to your success because you don't want to do it yourself. That's the difference. Is that if you have a problem and you survive, it was never a problem, but a life lesson. Um, I can agree with that to a degree. If you have a problem that you find a way to resolve after an extended period of time, you can call yourself a survivor of that problem. But it actually wasn't a problem. You're right. It was actually a life lesson. A lot of people have a problem that they just deal with. you're surviving in the midst of an ongoing problem. And the problem is you're not willing to learn the life lesson. So you're kind of right, but I'm just kind of spinning it in another way. The reason why people are going through long term stagnated strife is because their financially irresponsible decisions are not improving. Then their financially irresponsible decisions are being emulated by their children because their children aren't learning how to be financially responsible. And those kids become adults where those adults are also going to be financially irresponsible. They're going to know how to borrow against a stone. They're going to know how to rob Peter to pay Paul. They're going to be looking for ways to cheat the system. They're going to be looking for an easy way out. They're going to be looking for the next scam or whatever that they can get, the next shortcut, because they did not learn the possibilities and probabilities of long-term investments. Um, I seen on a podcast on a video just over the last couple of days. Uh, Oh, it was Steve Harvey. He asked on Family Feud. It was highlight reels from Steve Harvey. Yes, they're weak minds and weak wills is what it is. It's not just weak minds. It's weak minds and weak wills, lack of motivation. That's what leads to that. And the weak will and weak motivation is going to encourage short-term gratification so that you feel good about the shitty situation that you're in because you're not applying yourself to better, which is why we're giving you a lot of issues today or reasons today on how to better yourself. But what I seen on Steve Harvey had asked this one woman, what do you think the most appropriate age to start investing? And the woman said 7. Now, I covered the podcast and I said 8, and I agree with her. 7 is a good age. If they're old enough to get on your fucking nerves, they're old enough to be responsible. Instead of giving them an allowance, you give them a job. You hire them as employees, housekeeping. Have them, cleaning the house and cutting the grass, not doing chores. I'm not gonna pay you to take care of your own house, but I'll pay you to take care of mine. You know what I mean? It's not a situation where and then instead of just handing them money that they can do whatever they want with because it's your money, you do what you want with it. No, let's start with when you get paid. You should take X number of dollars and put it into your investments, X number of dollars and put it here, X number of dollars and put it there, and then you got a little bit of discretionary spending. Now, with your discretionary spending, let me show you how to make your money last longer. Buy things that are durable, buy the things that you actually benefit from. And this leads you to the ability to have so much extra on the back end, allowing them to make those financial mistakes along the way. But just like the Trump accounts, they're going to start you off with $1,000 account for kids that are born after 2025 up until about 2028, right? Now, or through 2028. So from January 25 to December 28. Um, in the moment that Donald Trump's got regular brokerage accounts from birth for your kids. By the time those kids turn 20, you would have been investing in your kids' future for 20 years. I said instead of doing that, if you teach your kids to invest in themselves for the entirety of their childhood, they will invest in themselves. They're going to value that more. It's not going to be my mom gave me this money or my dad gave me this money or I inherited this money. No, I've been working for this shit since I was 7 or 8 years old. That money is money that I worked for. That brokerage account, that real estate investment trust, that gold, silver, platinum, uranium investment opportunity. I've been working for that since before I went to first grade. Right? Now, that kid will find themselves a millionaire before 25. That kid will find themselves able to retire. That kid will find themselves having extra discretionary spending that they can utilize to invest in failed activities and still have extra money left over to try again. Donald Trump went bankrupt 6 times. Their life is tough. Biggest disappointment, no one had a choice of coming into the world. That's not the biggest disappointment. The biggest disappointment is that you did nothing with it after you got into the world. All given different cards in life, but we're all making the same bad plays. You don't have, you can start off in poverty, but you can finish in a life of financial success. All it takes is for a change, right? So when you make this switch, we're going to deal with some changes because you can have that 10-year-old driven car and you can find yourself successful. You can dress simple because you no longer are trying to impress people with logos. And this disconnects your self worth from your spending, which is one of the most liberating feelings in the world, right? He said, I think inflation will eat it all up. That's not true. So here's the thing. Inflation is the ability for big business to continue to raise prices, and your average American person or the average person around the world is willing to pay that cost. That's inflation. Now, what eats up a kid's money is that child being wasteful. You give them money, they go buy candy. You give them money, they go buy toys. You give them money to go buy expensive shoes, they go buy name brand this, they go buy bullshit, PlayStation, Xbox, Fortnite memberships, they go buy entertainment, they go buy instant gratification, right? A child building a brokerage account for 20 years, that child's brokerage account, always reinvesting on the principal, will find themselves when they're getting $13,000 worth of dividends back, not having to pay taxes on that, tax deferred. You might find themselves with some deductions somewhere. They might be claimed on as a dependent. There's a lot of things that work in these situations where the money is going to build value. People say it's eaten up in inflation. It, a burger is not going to cost $1 million in the next 20 years. It might cost $20 in the next 20 years. Your $10 value meal might be a $20 value meal in the next 20 years. But if your kid starts putting away money and not touching it, now the what they say is like 13,500 a year you can give your kid without them being slammed by taxes. 13,500 a year that your kid invests into brokerage accounts without them having to be slammed by taxes, right? So when you start putting $13,500 a year, or you're probably not going to give your kids $13,500 a year because that, well, actually you could, because that's like $100 a month. So if you give your kid $100 a month, which is like $25 a week, which that's like $1 a day to take care of the house with 2 days off, right? You're giving them like 13,000. You're giving them like 12,000 a year, which is, or no, well, let me recalculate that. It'd be like $1,000 a month, which would be upward of like $250 a week. But at max, because $1,250 a week is probably what you'd be doing like your 5, 6, and 7 year old. But like 16, 18, 20 year old, you'd be like a little bit more than that. But the dynamic is still going to be the same. If they're putting the money away before they understand the value of money, if they're putting the money away, right? They will develop the behavior habits to invest and save and watch those values grow. Now, the difference is the children that are being taught to value Rolls Royces and private jets and expensive clothes and wads of cash, which is the low grade mindset that poor people were taught from the music videos in the 80s and 90s. They're teaching their children to value this because the parents are paying for this to show the kids this is what success looks like. This is what luxury looks like. Now, let me spend all of this money to show you what success and luxury looks like. Be financially wasteful, just like me, right? But if you would have been teaching those exact same kids, let me take this 50 grand, put it over here. Let me show you how that 12% becomes your new allowance. You're going to pay taxes on this, but 12%, that becomes your new allowance. Now you're guaranteed at least $5,000 or $6,000 a year that you don't gotta ask me for nothing. You do whatever the fuck you want with it, plus go take your ass to work. You know what I'm saying? That's a way different dynamic. And when you start talking about almost 6,000 a year coming to you for these kids that don't have a job, that they're living off of their mother's income, that's $500 a month that they don't have to ask me for shit, right? But you just that would have been a whole lot better. So if you taught the kids at 7 and 8 years old how to be financially responsible, how to show them how money can go further, um, show them how to be responsible with their discretionary spending. By the time they get 17, 18, 19 years old, their goal is going to be to build wealth and invest in themselves. By the time they're 20, 25, 30 years old, that compounding money over the course of 10 to 20 years, they would have so much there that they don't care about, that they realize after a while, damn, I'm already successful, right? But they're humble about their success because it's ingrained in their core. I earned that. I'm not entitled. I didn't get this from my mom and dad. I've been building this since I was a kid, right? Every dollar I got from all of the adults, I was doing this with that money, right? And that pride is not something that can be taken away from name brand clothes and name brand shoes. You're going to be looking at that like, nah, I invest in that company. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be eaten up with inflation. What will happen is that down the line, he's going to have so much money coming back where he's beating the S&P 500 with his investment strategies. He's going to be able to turn enough money to invest in other countries, in other companies and other countries, where he will be making more money back than what the inflation would eat up, because inflation is going to take away about 4%. Taxation 3%. So if you take 7% out of your whatever you're making a day, and you take 7% out of that, that's what it's going to look like next year, right? So if you're drawing back 12%, right, you're still making a 5% profit over inflation and taxation. So if the kid knows how to invest his money and he's working on 12% and he's getting that extra inflation over taxation and or extra dividends back over taxation and over inflation, that kid is never gonna not have. He said hamburger in 20 years it costs $70. I don't think it's gonna cost $70 in 20 years because broke people buy hamburgers. He said, what would it cost to fill a grocery cart today? Today, grocery carts might take about, depending on how many people you're feeding, somewhere between $300 and $500 a month to fill your grocery cart. And I've been covering that in multiple countries around the world, where the average monthly groceries would for basic groceries would be around 450 to $500 a month. Sometimes for one person, but a lot of times for two. So it said in 2020 to fill a grocery cart, it costs about $250. Right. So he said in 6 years, it has almost doubled to $500. Right. So um, in 6 years, it's doubling, and mostly it's doubling because of the war. But that still puts us in a position where if you know that your grocery bill is going to be increasing by 50% in less than 10 years, is going to be doubling. So it's going to be a 200% increase in less than 10 years. If you're investing in a way where your money is making money for you, you're hedging that inflation. But if you're teaching your kids to hedge that inflation from a younger age, by the time that actually matters to them, because they're not buying their own groceries, they're not paying for anything, they live off of their parents. But you're teaching them how to put their money in places where the money makes money for them. You're teaching them what's important. You're teaching them how to buy, save, and invest, so that they will have extra discretionary money to get whatever they want and still be able to buy, save, and invest for their future, where their future self will thank them later. You said, what's the minimum amount of money to spend on food weekly? Well, that depends on how much you eat and how many people are in your house. So the cheapest way to get a nutritious meal is usually somewhere between $2 to $3 per meal. per day. If you eat 3 to 4 times a day, you're looking at somewhere between if you're doing $3 a meal per day, you're looking at like $9 to $12 a day for food. If you're doing that every 10 days, that's about $120 a day for food. Um, for 10 days, which means over the course of 30 days, you'd be looking at like $360 a month for food if you're averaging about $3 a meal, three to four meals a day, about $360. Now, if you're going off of name brand things, instant meals, or pre-made stuff, eating out, all this other stuff, you start getting closer to $5 a meal. And when you're doing closer to $5 or $10 a meal and you're eating 3 times a day, at least 3 times a day, then you're looking at with $5 or $10 a meal, you're looking at anywhere between 15 to $30 a day. And when you're looking at $15 to $30 a day, you're looking at closer to $50 to $300. Well, not 15 to 30. So you're looking at anywhere between $150 and $300 every 10 days, which is anywhere between 450 and $900 a month. Uh, when you start adding like eating out and pre-made meals and all that other stuff. So it really depends because you buy instant pre-made meals that you can throw in a microwave to buy back your freedom of not having to take that 3 hours to cook food every day, right? You can just put it in the microwave, go do something else. When the microwave beeps, you go and get it, right? During Biden's inflation was double digits, but during Biden's administration, the actions of Donald Trump was being felt during the Biden administration because Donald Trump was the president right before Joe Biden. The reduced cost of living was due to the Obama administration that you were starting to experience during Donald Trump era. Any benefit from the Biden administration is overshadowed by the war. So we have unnecessary inflation because of the war. So now we're spending more money during the Trump administration than what we spent during the Biden administration, than what we spent during the last Trump administration, than what we spent during the Obama administration for his 2 years in a row. Is that top ramen noodles? But it is what it is. Whatever you can, whatever you're willing to get versus whatever you can afford. Now, the next practice we need to have is going to be psychological minimalism. And this isn't just about decluttering your house. It's going to be about aggressively cutting the mental noise from your life. Your brain has a finite amount of bandwidth. Every useless item in your room, every little decision you have to make, every notification you have to check, it all drains that battery. Psychological minimalism is about creating a life where focus is the default setting. This means decluttering your space to reduce visual stress. It also means creating simple daily routines, like a morning walk or a 10-minute read of a book before bed, to reduce the decision of fatigue. Well, it's called decision fatigue. If this is something that you do all the time, this is what you would do at this time. Like decision fatigue. I don't have to worry about the podcast or what I'm going to do at this time of night because this time of night I'm doing a podcast, right? By being ruthless about what you let into your space and your schedule, you get a huge amount of attention back. That attention is going to be the raw materials that you can use to build a richer life. Now, this is going to be the deepest level of the whole process because if you change your spending and your focus and your life, uh, uh, especially your major life decisions, you're going to get better. But if you change your identity, your life will transform. The reason most self improvement fails is that we try to change our habits without changing who we believe we are, which is why at the top of the show, when I started talking about for briefly about changing the way you carry yourself and how you can coordinate your life choices to that change your life choices to uh, focus on how you carry yourself with the way you dress, then you can um, see better results. He's saying, okay, uh, Biden inflation was 17 to 27%. Right. But it was a byproduct of Donald Trump. Because the last president's, the stuff that happened with the last president rolls over to the next president. Everything that happened 4 years ago hurts us right now. Everything that happened 8 years ago hurt us last term. Obama ran 2 years consecutive, 2 terms consecutive. What you're saying, Obama was 1.4%, right? So during Trump's first term, when we were seeing 2 and 6%, that was the remnants and byproduct of Obama. The shit that Donald Trump kicked off between 2017 2021, that led to what we dealt with during the Biden administration. Now, whatever Joe Biden was doing, which wasn't much, whatever he was doing would be felt right after he got out of office and the many years after that if it was a 20-year plan. Like Biden administration, where everybody was promoting the Obamacare, they were promoting the debt forgiveness and all of this other stuff. That is the byproduct of the previous president. Now, when Donald Trump abolishes all of that, you're looking at the inflation, you know, right? Okay, 1.9%, where Obama followed Obama. He had it at 1.9%. Donald Trump followed Obama, went to 2.4%. And the shit that Donald Trump did led to the 17% in Joe Biden's position. Again, it is carryover because what you got to realize is that what the president does while in office has a lasting effect on the government, on everything. So what the last president did or didn't do is what we're paying for now. What the president before him did is what we were dealing with during the last president's term. So the 2017 president is the reason why we were dealing with 17 to 27% in 2021 and 2022. The 2025 president starting a war in 2026 is the reason why we're experiencing inflation in 2026. And the 3.3% inflation today is going to be partially the war and the rollover from the Biden administration, which also means that, again, Donald Trump wasn't the reason why the shit sucked. I mean, Joe Biden wasn't the reason why the shit sucked. Joe Biden did his thing. Shit went down. Shit's going up now. And shit's going to keep going up. But the war right now, because you're saying, well, yeah, it's 3.3% inflation a day, but it's 3.3% inflation a day, and we're now dealing with $5 and $6 a gallon gas, where because of the Biden administration and the Obama administration, we were dealing with less than $3 a gallon worth of gas. Nobody wants to point fingers where they really go. You know, they just want to make Democrats look bad. It's not Democrats aren't the smartest ones on the we need both sides. But the fact is that all the positive things that Democrats do, nobody wants to give the Democrats credit for it. You're going to blame the current president for the current environment when the current position is a rollover from the last position. Okay, and that doesn't change. Listen to me, Michael. The current environment is the byproduct of the last president. And I said that multiple times. Obama followed Obama. So what Obama did in his first term rolled over into his second term. What Obama did in his 2 terms rolled over into Donald Trump. What Donald Trump did rolled over into Joe Biden, and what Joe Biden did rolls over to Donald Trump. Plain and simple. So by the time Obama walked out, he walked out with 1.9%, but he did sign that inflated tax on the oil and brought it up to 2.4%. Obama was the reason why we had 2.4% inflation during Trump's first term. That's because of Obama. Now, what Donald Trump did with the $30 billion wall and all of this other stuff, you see the inflation in Joe Biden's term But that was because of what Trump did between 17 and 21. That's again the same thing. Then you're looking at again, Biden came in, whatever they did, everything starts going back down to 3.3%. And that's going to put us back on. No, now you're being stupid. Donald Trump started the war. Donald Trump started the war. And really, the Supreme Court is the reason why Donald Trump started the war, because Donald Trump was strangling them with finance and adding 200% tariffs to countries that wouldn't cooperate. And when the Supreme Court stopped him from doing that, then he went to war. So technically, the Supreme Court is the reason why we're at war. But Donald Trump initiated the war. Okay. So the decision to go to war is a current president decision. Inflation is the byproduct of the last president. You got to keep up. I know you're old, but you got to keep up. So back to the main topic, right? Instead of trying to force new results while clinging to your old identity, you got to try, because that's equivalent to trying to run new software on an old operating system. It's going to be bound to crash, right? So habit formation is going to happen on three levels: outcomes, processes, and identity. The outcome is what you get, like losing weight. The process is what you do, like going to the gym. The identity is what you believe. I'm the type of person who stays active. Most people start by focusing on the outcome that they want, but the most lasting change comes from focusing on the identity of what you have. The key to building habits that stick is to focus on your identity first. Your current behaviors are just a reflection of your current identity. To change your behavior for good, you have to start believing you're a new type of person. So, how do you do this? This is going to be a simple two-step process. We're going to go into a detail. But first, you got to remember, deciding who you want to be is very important. And then I don't mean like a job title. I mean, decide on the type of person that you want to be. Be specific. Instead of I want to be healthy, decide I want to be the type of person who moves their body every day. Remember to like and subscribe. Uh, I'm going to disagree with you on that as well, because I mean, you um for the most part, with the mental state of Joe Biden, you're looking at, he wasn't really making all of his own decisions. A lot of the times, it looked like he was being carried by others. But you we also look at, again, it's the byproduct of action. It's the byproduct of the last guy's actions. You know, remember Sunday is fun day. Enjoy family and friends. That's a good day. That's a good thing to think about. Make sure that you guys have a good time with your family and friends over the weekend. So instead of deciding, I want to write a book, you want to decide that I want to be the type of person who writes every day. The book will just happen. This shifts the focus from some big scary goal to something that uh you can become right away, right? Now, the second step is going to be the most important step. You want to prove it to yourself with small wins. You don't build an identity with big announcements. You build it with tiny, undeniable pieces of evidence. Every action that you take is a vote for the type of person who you want to become. The secret is to start so small that it's almost impossible to say no. So if you want to be a reader, you don't commit to a book a week, you just read one page or more a day. That's it. When you do that, you've just casted a vote for your reader identity. If you want to be someone who moves more, you don't buy a gym membership. You, especially when you're sitting over there promising to go every day. Instead, you just put your shoes on and you walk 50 steps. That's a vote. The goal isn't a massive result in one day. The goal is to cast a single vote for yourself and your new identity. These small wins might seem tiny, but they are the atoms that build the molecule of your identity. So like I wanted to be more active. I told you guys earlier this year that I wanted to be more active and get more exercise. And now after the podcast, I give my dog a 30-minute walk every night. So even though I used to give him at least one walk a day every day, I'm going massive long distance hikes all the way across town kind of thing. And it's only that way because I'm like, quiet neighborhood, let's walk the neighborhood. It's cool outside, let's walk the neighborhood, right? And each day that I do that, cast a vote to make that walk, right? This is going to send a powerful signal to your brain. Hey, this is who we are, right? This all leads to what I call embodying the feeling of wealth. And this isn't faking it till you make it by going into debt to look rich. It's about adopting the mindset of someone who already feels an abundance so that your actions start to line up with that feeling. What does a person do who feels abundant? They don't make panic, scarcity driven decisions. They're going to make deliberate choices. They don't see themselves as a victim of their circumstances. They see themselves as resourceful. So when you consistently cast those small votes for your desired identity, the reader, the writer, the health person, you start to become that person. Um, you're not pretending anymore. You're embodying it. You know, the idea of being a college student, you go to college every day. Sometimes you go to college on days when you don't have class because you're a college student. You do something related to school every week and you keep doing stuff that's related to school every week because you're a college student, right? That's your identity as being a college student, right? Your goal might be to graduate from college and do something with that degree, but your current identity is a college student. So you do a lot of the things that a college student would do to embody that image, which makes it easier to go to school. It makes it easier to dedicate yourself to that education because you can't say, oh, well, I'm not going to study because I am a college student. I got to study. I can't go blow off this class project because I'm a college student. I have to complete my class project. This helps motivate you to maintain focus on your long-term goal. But also, the internal feeling of abundance is going to be the ultimate upgrade of your lifestyle because it isn't something that dissipates. It's available to you at any income level. You don't have to worry about exhausting your finances to make this outcome possible. Theory is going to be nice, but actions is going to be what creates that change. So let's get practical. This isn't some vague wish, it's going to be a project. So here's a tactical plan that you can use to start upgrading your life starting today. In the first 24 to 48 hours, your awareness and reset has to happen. And your first mission is going to be to figure out your starting point. You can't get where you're going if you don't know where you are. So, again, you're going to be doing one of those audits. Tonight or tomorrow, take out a notebook, write down how you spend your money, like I told you guys earlier today. You should already have it written down by now with all the many times I told you to rewrite it. You want to be honest, don't judge yourself. Where does your money go? Where did your time go? Get specific about screening where your time goes. Where was your attention at? This is going to be the foundations for everything that you're about to start doing. Choose one small rule and one small habit. Don't try to change everything at once. Start small to build momentum. For example, you want a rule that could be no food delivered for 7 days, and your habit could be walk for 10 minutes every morning. The goal is an easy win to prove to yourself that you can do this. The first 7 days, your environment and routine upgrade is going to occur. And this is going to be all about changing your surroundings to support the person that you want to be. Deep clean and declutter one area. Pick the room or space that causes you the most stress, your bedroom, your desk, whatever it is. Be ruthless. Get rid of the visual noise, then add one single thing back into the space that makes you happy. So take all the stuff that doesn't have a place out of the room and then slowly but surely try to find a place for the things that make you happy. Everything that doesn't go back into the room, gotta go. You can put a plant, a candle, a photo. You feel an immediate shift every time you walk in. Then you want to set a simple daily rhythm because you don't need a complicated schedule. Just create a simple flow for your day, a consistent wake up time, a block for morning movement, a focused work block, and a non negotiable wind down routine in every evening without screens, right? No screens means no social media, right? Consistency reduces decision fatigue and makes you feel more in control. The first 30 days of the identity and the mindset shift, this is going to be the month that is all about rewiring your brain and building the new identity. Keeping a daily owner log at the end of each day, which could be also part of your routine, where you write down one thing that you did that lines up with your owner's mindset. Did you create a template that saves you time? Did you learn new skills on YouTube? Did you fix something instead of buying a new one? Documenting the trains, documenting this type of behavior trains your brain to look for and repeat these behaviors. Just like I told my buddy, I'm like, yeah, I know. I had a car, it was broke. I switched to another car. I fixed the broke car, left it alone. When the new car broke, I had another car. So now that I got one car, eventually I'm going to fix the broke car and leave it alone so that when the current car breaks, I can go back to the other car. That's how it works. Forever paying one insurance for one vehicle, but I've got the same plate for eternity. And my mechanic asked me about it. He's like, man, you got two cars registered to one plate. Yes, I know, because I keep switching back and forth. It is what it is, right? Force the how can I mentality. Reframe every single time that you catch yourself thinking or saying, I can't afford it. Stop that. Pull out a notebook, force yourself to write down three possible answers to how can I achieve or accomplish or get by whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. How can I borrow it? How can I learn to do it myself? How can I find creative ways to access it? This practice will literally rewire the problem solving parts of your brain. I actually had a conversation with a family member who wanted to put in an application for something. They wanted me to do it. And I'm like, no, you could have done it yourself. I gave them four ways to do it. You can email it to them. You can fax it to them. You can mail it to them. You can have them come down and talk to you about it. Right? All of the ways that you can get it done. They're waiting on somebody else to do it. It's not getting done. Eventually, probably Monday or Tuesday, they're going to contact the people and say, hey, you know, because there's so many ways that it can get done. It doesn't require me to be involved. I'm the guy that does the things that people believe cannot get done. That's where I'm at. I'm not the guy that is the go-to guy so that you don't have to apply yourself to anything. I mean, just like the scripture with the footprints in the sand, the only way that there would have been footprints in the sand is if you were taking those steps. Whether he carried you or you carried him, either way, your motivation to go is what got you as far as you went. But in order for you to say that we did it, I did it, you did it with me, I had to do it too. And those individuals that believe in faith, you recognize that faith without work is dead. So you can believe all day long about improvement and salvation, but salvation comes from effort, and effort must be performed because you can't save somebody from drowning without reaching out for them to pull them out of the water. You have to recognize that actions must be performed to get change, right? So you start applying yourself to yourself, you start seeing yourself improve. Now, the first 90 days is going to be even better than the first 30 days. Compounding and reevaluations is going to be what you're going to start doing. Evaluating the last 3 months, you'll have a real momentum already. And now is going to be the time to compound your gains. Fund one capability upgrade, like taking the money that you've saved and invested into one thing that upgrades your skills or your well being. This could be a course, tools for a hobby, a health checkup, or a permanent improvement in your home, fixing your broken car. This creates a powerful cycle where your discipline directly funds your growth. Reevaluating your life is going to be the next step. Look back at the changes that you've made. What had the biggest impact on the quality of your life? Which experiments didn't really do much? And then keep things that worked the most for you where you're feeling free to ditch the rest. This isn't about following a rigid plan forever. It's about creating a personal, sustainable system for a richer life that works for you. Because when you start stacking these changes, the ones that benefit you the most, sending your money towards your joy, taking back your attention, and building a new identity, one small win at a time, an incredible compounding effect happens because you didn't get a bunch of extra money, but your baseline stress level starts to drop. You have more energy. Your spending finally feels good, and your free time and the freed up resources you have don't uh, 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 surprise you anymore. Because when you first start doing this, you don't even know where all this money came from. But it's stuff that you always had accessible, but you weren't collecting it correctly. Most importantly, your mindset shift from being a passive consumer of your life to being an active owner of your experience. That's going to be one of the best parts about this. When you realize that your rich life has very little to do with the number in your bank account and everything to do with the quality of your attention, the intention behind your actions and what you believe about yourself, you don't need to wait for permission from the future paychecks that you're hoping is going to come in to start living a first class lifestyle. The tools aren't already in your hand. You didn't know that you had them. The whole process starts with a single vote for your new identity. So many people have to recognize the question that I'm about to ask you. What is the small things that you can do today to cast a vote for the person that you want to become tomorrow? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about your identity building. And if videos like this helped you and you want more content or intentional living uh, and building a life for your own terms, making sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the show, hit those notification buttons, and double check those memberships. That's one of the best ways to get there because whatever, all of the steps that we talked about in today's show, you're going to see me over the next week starting to put them into the membership. So you're going to start seeing a rollout of a large quantity of step-by-step helpful um, um, guides to help get you in the direction that you want to be, but it requires you to take this information and use it. I created a workout plan for a family member. It sits on a table like decorations. They don't use it. They lay in the bed all day and watch TV. If you are more productive, then you will have more energy. The body replicates yesterday, today. So the more times you get out of bed and find something to do, the more energy you have to get out of bed and find something to do. All right. You guys got to remember, you are spending your valuable time and attention with me today, but you need to go and cast your votes and put your time and your effort towards making things better for you the way you prefer to see them. Now, we're going to start on our way out of the door by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to help you guys become higher value men, not just by building your financial life, but also building your decision making skills. You guys have to find things in your life that are inside of your control that you can change and proactively change that while then taking the time to navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourself higher value women by figuring out where you want to be at in the next 20 or 30 years and reverse engineering your 20-year plan. As you proceed down the path of accomplishing your goals, if you keep your eyes and ears open to paying attention to the potential suitors, their character, their personality, their drive, their ambition, their dedication, their devotion, their integrity. Find out their 20-year goals and see how their goals mesh with your goals. Because if you guys can go in the same direction without having to do the same exact thing, you guys can build on each other's lives. And the two of you can become successful twice as fast. I keep telling you guys every night that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one if you are both financially dedicated towards the success of long-term future growth. Because if one of you is wasteful and one of you is investing, you're never going to meet that goal. And it doesn't matter which one it is. It could be you, it could be your partner. Either way, you're never going to get to where you want to be if both of you are not striving to get there together. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.